Hello and good morning. I am so glad you are here with me today. I'm Delinda Layne and I'm your host for the show, Tuesday Morning Live, Faith in Action. So, how is your day going? It is to quote a phrase, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Yeah, it's going to be like 80 today. That's crazy, right? Anyway, we can go from the highs and the lows so fast here. I'm loving that it's going to be a great day. The sun's already out, bright and shiny, and I don't know about y'all, but the sun always lifts my spirits. I love that. I'm going to check over here off the screen just real quick so I can tell. I just want to see if I can send y'all a message on our on the live show here. So if I'm looking away from the screen, don't mind me for just a quick second. I want to check that out. So as we look at things, a couple of weeks ago, I think it's been two, maybe, we talked about how being busy is like the badge of honor in our society. Like the busier you are, I don't know, people think you must be a greater person because you can handle so many things. And as women, let's just face it, we definitely can handle a lot. God made us to be able to multitask like crazy, but sometimes that really is not in our benefit. So I just want to let you know that we're going to be talking about being busy and how it affects pretty much every part of our life. And today is about the busyness of our brain. And I don't know about you, but I have just found so often the brain just kind of goes on its own about the time I'm ready to go to bed at night or when I uh, crawl into bed, that's when the brain starts like going crazy. It's like, okay, now we'll just talk about everything in the world and we'll solve all the world's problems while we're trying to go to sleep. So, have any of you ever felt that when your mind just wouldn't turn off? So if you have, just put a yes in the comments or put me, some response so I know that I'm not the only one out there who has that trouble sometimes. I've gotten much better at dealing with it, which is why I'm going to talk to y'all about that today. But the conversations that sometimes go in our head, are about things you didn't think of that all of a sudden you need to take care of. A conversation that you keep playing over and over again, and how could you have said it different, and what would have worked better? Something you forgot to do, and maybe something you're worried about for tomorrow that's coming up. And the truth is, nothing's really happening at this moment. So I'm talking about this mind going crazy when you're trying to go to bed or when you're trying to rest. Maybe you decided to take a little downtime, even in the afternoon, and just rest a little bit. Maybe you've got something going on at night and you need a little extra energy. And I have to tell you, though, a little story about that. So when I was in Mary Kay, my national sales director was Pam Ross. And I was privileged really to hang around her a lot and go to various events with her. And I love doing that because I learned so much from her. And one of the things I learned is anytime she had a big event at night, and if any of y'all have ever held events, been a speaker or a trainer or something for an event, you know that takes a lot of energy. And she knew that. And so she always wanted to be on her best when she had one of those events to do that. And most of those were at night. Sometimes they were daytime or mornings, but often they were in the evenings. So she would uh, separate herself off. If we were traveling, she would just go into her room and she would literally just rest, just lay down and rest. And in the beginning, I thought that was, well, that's interesting why she does that. So obviously, then I asked her, and she said, well, I know I need the energy. So I just lay down and rest. And then when I get up, I'm feeling fresh and energized. So sometimes, again, y'all, when we're talking about the whole busyness thing, the schedules that we have, or our brain busyness, which is we're going to be continuing on this morning, we think that it's bad, that something's wrong with us. If we need to rest, if we need to just sit down and take whatever it is, it doesn't matter, y'all. It's okay. You can give yourself permission. Probably nobody else really cares. Let's be truthful. But take some time if you need to or want to, and take 30 minutes or an hour and just really rest. And you'll find that sometimes that works really well. I've learned to do that, particularly when I have things in the evening, because I'm really on a daytime clock and not so much doing things as much in the evening. And even when I was doing concerts and singing a lot, I did my best during the day. So I always loved it when I got to sing someplace, in the mornings, like at church on Sundays or at a luncheon, things like that, because that's usually where I was my best. Evenings, I had to really prepare and do this whole rest thing. So that really has nothing to do with our brain today, but I just, it came across my mind as I'm chatting here with you. All right, so let's think about that a little more. And because I cannot see any of your comments right at this moment, if you'll make them though, I will actually respond to you after the broadcast so that you'll know that I'm paying attention to what you're saying. So sometimes, again, when our mind won't turn off, I want to give you some ideas that really can help that. And it's going to sound a little bit similar also to when I have talked to y'all about negative thoughts, when those negative thoughts come in, because we can control our thoughts, we can control our mind. We just have to learn how to do it, how to manage that. So again, I want you to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. Everybody does this to some extent, but it is learning to management that's one of the manage that. This is one of the biggest things that we can do. One of the biggest contributors to a busy mind is worry. How many of y'all out there are worriers? I am not, and only because I've learned not to be. My mother is the champion worrier of the world. I mean, she just worries all the time. I have been talking to her for years, trying to help her understand how that's not helping one bit, and it just wears her out. And at 96, that's a lot for her to keep worrying about. And but she really gets obsessive about it. And she knows I chat with y'all about these things. So don't feel like I'm talking bad things about my mother. She's got wonderful attributes, but worrying is not a wonderful attribute that she has. I love it in Matthew when Jesus says in Matthew 6:27, who of you by worrying can add one single hour to his life? Nobody. Nobody. You can't add anything to your life. As a matter of fact, you're taking away from your life by worrying. When you are worrying, it is like a cancer. It is eating you up. So at night, if you're lay there worrying about all of these things that are coming up, and sometimes y'all, we worry about things that have never happened, and then they never do happen, and you've now wasted whatever amount of hours that you've been worrying about. Have you really thought of that? You're eating up your energy, you're eating up your productivity, and you're eating up just the blessings God can give you in the time that you're worrying about all these other things. So kind of think about it like this. It's worry is like a slow leak of your soul. It's just taking part of you out. So think as you notice, when you start noticing that, I'm going to give you some tools to just turn it around. God just never intended for us to carry all these thoughts and to carry our worries and our concerns and all those thoughts alone. He is there for us. So here we go. I'm going to say them for you first. And anybody who's out there, if you want to write them down or type them in the box, that'd be great. I can't do it right now. I will post them in there later. So the first one is, so these are the 5 R's for a busy mind. One is recognize it. Recognize what it is you are thinking about that is driving your brain crazy. So you're worried about an upcoming event. You're worried about a speech you're going to give. You're worried about your child in their first interview or your child in the schoolyard. You need to really recognize what that is, because once you label it, then you can actually do something about it. All right, so we'll take one, and you kind of just go through this. What is the one thing that you're worrying about or thinking about? Sometimes it's not worried, but thinking about at this particular moment in time. You've laid down and you're ready to go to sleep, and then the brain starts, tomorrow, got to do this. Oh, I forgot to do that. You've got at least 5, 6 things probably going on at the same time. So let's rein them in. We're going to recognize what it is. We're going to rein it in, and then we're going to record it. So we're going to recognize it. We're going to rein it in. We're going to record it. Then we're going to either release it, replace it, and then we're going to rest, because by the time we release it or replace it or write it down, those are kind of my three right in there. And even though right is WRIGHT, or WRITE, the other right, uh, you're going to write it down, because writing it down also helps to release it. So recognize that thought. You're going to brain it in, you're going to bring it in. Now, is this a true thought or is this a lie? Let's just start right there. So recognize it for what it is. This is a lie. Is this something that you thinking about can even change it? Is there a remote chance in the world that your thinking about it is going to change it? Now, some thoughts there are, but there are some thoughts that we let our mind go crazy with, and we chase the rabbit, and it doesn't get us anywhere. You could think of that same thought for all 8 hours of sleep or whatever you get, and tomorrow morning you'll just be tired because you can't solve it. There are just those thoughts that run away, that our mind runs away with, and there's nothing we can do about it. And more worry or more thinking or deliberating in your mind about it is not going to change it. So that's when you decide. So then write it down. So I would suggest that you keep a pad. You know, I talk about my spirals all the time. Everything goes in my spiral. So, and have just have a little notebook or something right by your bed. Because once you take that out of your brain and you actually write it down, your brain knows that you're not going to think about it now. And it's like, just put it down there. You're oftentimes I will think about the things that, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that. I need to do it now. Occasionally there's been something like, oh my gosh, I better do that right now, because if I don't do it by midnight, I've missed the deadline. So then I actually get up and go take care of it. But sometimes it's, oh, I just need to remember to do that tomorrow. So I just grab my little pad and I just write it down and say, okay, Lord, I can't handle this tonight. This is yours. I'll get to it tomorrow. And so you can't. Tomorrow you'll just pick it up and what did you write down? But the fact that you actually write it down or put it in your phone, it doesn't matter which one, although they say it's better not to be using our phones and iPad things at night when we're trying to go to sleep, because it triggers things in the brain. I don't really understand all that. I should talk to my friend Layne, the neuroscience nerd. Y'all know Layne Franklin, about that. But in the meantime, I just know that it is a very good thing, very productive thing to just write it down. So by recording it or write it down, you're releasing it for the night. And there may be all kinds of other things. Maybe as you're doing that, just several other things come to mind. And you'll be amazed. If you've never done this, you'll really be amazed at how well that works. It might be 3 or 4 things that you'll wind up writing on your pad as you go to bed. One of the things that really, really helps that is before you actually get to bed, and this was a skill that, again, I learned, the skill that I learned in Mary Kay, and she had what she called her 6 most important list. And most every night while I was in Mary Kay for 20 years, I would actually do that. I'd go into my desk and I would just take the pad of, again, for me, it's always my spiral, and write down the 6 most important lists for the next day. Who was I supposed to call? Did I have a dentist appointment? Whatever that was, those 6 most important things that I wanted to take care of tomorrow. Because what did that do? It released my mind for the night till tomorrow when I could handle those things. So hope that y'all are following along here with me. All right, so we've talked about how to recognize it. And again, asking yourself, when you rein that in, ask yourself if this is truth or a lie. And if it's true, if it is something important that you yourself can handle, or you and God, then that's when it's really good to then record it, to write it down so that you can handle it the next day. I mean, God can keep it overnight. He is a big God, and I don't understand how or why he loves us so much and cares about the details of our life, but he does. He truly 100% does. So as we hand that over to him, and then now you've written it down, so that helps you to release it. Now, sometimes the thought that you've captured, what you've reined in, is a thought that you need to replace with another thought. Okay, so if this, for instance, it could be a negative thought, like, I am never going to get this done. I don't have what it takes. This goes into the carryover with the negative thinking. That's where you replace it. And that's when you replace it with those positive uh, scriptures, those positive thoughts that you've already been training yourself to do. So I will never get out of this mess. I've really gotten myself into a pickle at this point, whatever. Then that's when you replace it and say, you know what? God is so faithful. I remember he got me through the last time I did, XYZ, and I know he is faithful and he will bring me through again. He will be with me to walk through this. Maybe your thoughts are, I'm just so alone. There's nobody with me. Yes, God is with you. You are never alone. He says you will never be alone. And I don't have the scripture at my fingertips to give you that right at this moment, but just know that that is. And also, I'm going to give you the scripture, 2 Corinthians 10:5, and it says, take every thought captive. And that's that, capture that thought, that rein it in, because we do have, again, we have control of our thoughts. And then it's what we do with them. Are we going to replace that thought with a positive thought or a different thought? Change our perspective of it, or are we just going to release it, give it over to God, and if it's the devil beating up on you, then get behind me. Say, get behind Jesus, because I'm standing with the Lord. The Lord is with me. The Lord has me surrounded. So get behind Jesus. You have no place here. Send him out. Send him out. You can do that. All right. So when a thought shows up, it doesn't mean that it has to run your life, run your mind. So often we just need to take that pause. Again, take a breath on it and pray about it and say, this thought is not going to control me. I'm turning it over to the Lord. I'm going to give it to God. He's much stronger than I am. So as you're looking at that, I think too, just verbally, of course, we say a lot of things in our mind, but sometimes you just need to verbalize it out loud and say, Lord, you have this thought for the night. You and I can pick it up for tomorrow, because you need your rest. The Lord wants you to rest. You need your energy. Our physical bodies, God rested, and Jesus would take himself off and away from the crowds and away into places where he could be alone, and he could pray. And I'm sure he did. We don't know what all he did when he did in those silent times, but we do know that he prayed, and he always was in obedience to the Father. And that's where we could do that too. Just take those thoughts away. You've reined it in, and turn it over to him for the night, or turn it over to him forever. If it's something that needs to be done tomorrow, you might just need to turn it over for the night. So here is a great one for y'all. Psalms 127:2, and it says, he gives sleep to his beloved, and you are his beloved. You are his chosen. You believe in him. So if you are Christian and you're watching this, many of you, most of you are, I think, just know that you are his beloved, and he gives sleep to his beloved. So sometimes we just have to get rid of those thoughts, rein them in, write them down, and then he will give you sleep. He will give you that rest. And sometimes it's just the most faithful thing we can do is to close our eyes and just trust God with what we cannot solve tonight when you're going to bed. So, all right, let me come back and get that for you. So once you've released it, we've we've grabbed the thought, we've captured the thought, and then we're going to write it in. We're going to record it, write it down so that we can release it or replace it. And then once we've done that, we've written it down, those thoughts just dump, sometimes if it's the middle of the night, just get up, dump the thoughts, get back to them tomorrow, and allow yourself to rest. And that's where that verse about he gives rest to his beloved. Don't you love that? Isn't that so pretty? So then let me ask you, which of those 5 R's do you think would help you the most? To recognize it, recognize it and ask it. Well, either ask it in between. So recognize it and rein it in. Look at it. Is it true or is it a lie? If it's a lie, get rid of it, throw it away. Then record what it is. If it's true, if it's something that does need to be taken care of, that you do want to remember, like you forgot to pay the gas bill and you need to do it tomorrow morning, just write it down. And when you get up, you can look at your pad and get up and go do it the first thing in the morning. Because come on, those are the practical things that we deal with every day. We have bills to pay. We have things to do. Like, oh my gosh, I've got a 11 o'clock appointment. I've got to make sure I remember that. Just write it down. Now, if you've prepared ahead, you probably have already put that in your calendar and you already have an alarm set for it to when you need to leave the house to go do that appointment or when you need to get online for a Zoom class or something. All right, so recognize it, rein it in, record it, write it down, then release it or replace it. And then one more time, take that deep breath, turn the rest of it all over to God, and then just rest. Just allow yourself to rest and let God give you that peace of mind that only He can give you. All right. So, which of those best helps you? Is there one, or is there one that's the hardest for you? But which one would really help you if you began to do that? So, having peace does not mean that you don't have thoughts, okay? But peace comes from knowing where to take those thoughts, where to place them so that you can let your mind rest. And as y'all know, we have choices in that. I just talk about that so much, about that we may not be able to control the world. We may not be able to uh, just handle all those things that are just going on, but we can control our thoughts and what we do with them, and particularly those thoughts that are just keeping us awake at night. And ask yourself, is thinking about that all night long going to solve it? Is it going to be better tomorrow morning? If not, totally release it and give it over to God for good, or write it down so you can pick it up and move forward on it the next day. When you get up, you can say, okay, what can I do? What's one step that I can take today to get me closer to that? If there's something that's really coming forward that you need to work on. One really cool thing about the mind, though, and I'm sure that Layne has it in her book. I was just reviewing a little bit. She's got some great tips in her book, too, by the way. She has this, oh, y'all can say, there we go, Persuasion GPS. You can see I have it marked, all kinds of little tabs here. I highly recommend it to you guys. But one of the things that's cool is that sometimes if you want to plant a seed in your mind to tell your mind what to do, is to let your mind be creative. And you can say, I'm wanting, so I'm using AI for a lot of that right now. Y'all know that. So I have Joy, who's my AI assistant. But sometimes there's things that I just want to really think about, and I want to open my mind to see what God's going to tell me. And I'm not thinking about it. Okay. I'm not consciously thinking about it. And I've already turned it over to the Lord, but I'll just say, I really want a name. But my big thing is that I'm always wanting to have the right name for something, whether it's a program or a workshop or a speech name, something like that. When I was doing concerts, I would just want to know, like, what is my thread going to be? Because my concerts would always have a thread or a theme that would always go through them. And I could just plant that seed in my mind, and then I could just release it and just say, I'm going to just let the Lord work with that. And our mind goes to work, our subconscious, which we're not awake to know all of that. So our subconscious can be being creative. Have you ever woken up and said, oh, I just had the best thought? That's your subconscious and God working in your mind to give you these thoughts, and something that, oftentimes He wants us to do. So sometimes we can program ourselves to help our mind do its work in a non-threatening way, where worry is a threatening way to us, but we can actually have it do a creative thing for us. So hopefully that will help you this week. And next week, so we've talked about the busyness, the busyness of what we do, okay, the doing. And then today we've talked about the busyness in your mind. And next week we're going to talk about having mental clarity to move forward in your life. So we're talking about how we can get more rest so we can release those thoughts that we don't want to have. We've talked about releasing negative thoughts. So next week, we're going to be talking about having clarity of mind. So if you're working on goals, or you need to be more clear in God's direction in your life, whatever that looks like for you, that's what we're going to talk about next week. So thank you so much for being here. You guys are amazing. I just love it that you support the show. Remember that you can take those thoughts, those crazy thoughts, that marathon you're running in your mind every day. You can recognize those thoughts. You can rein it in, write them down, release them or replace them, and then take a deep breath and let yourself just rest. Remember, my friends, that life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. And you can choose what to do with those thoughts. So try the 5 R's and see if that helps you. God bless. And I will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.